That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
All right, hello everyone, welcome back to the stream. So today, as the title suggests, I'm going to be starting some basic work on getting some loot and networked itemization going. So the plan is we're going to get some items to, let's see, maybe drop from the server. So it needs to be server authoritative. So the server needs to generate some items that other players can pick up. And then those items need to have their stats synchronized across all the clients for display purposes. And yeah, obviously the items themselves are going to need to have some kind of bonuses like energy or health or whatever, armor, protection, that kind of thing. So that's what we're going to be working on today, just getting all that in place from the server side. So I'll show you what I've got so far. I did a little bit of work yesterday, and then also we can, yeah, we'll just start building that itemization system, I guess. So before I get into it, I want to remind everyone that Gunforged is available for purchase now. So if you want to support my work, you can check that out. We've got 43 reviews, 95% positive, so that's great. And yeah, it's a great way to support my work and get another fun game in your lobby there, but also, or in your library rather. But I also have Udemy courses available for sale that will teach you how to build a game in the Godot engine. So those are all linked below as well. So let's get right into it. Hello, Dusty. Welcome back. Good to see you again. Hello, Vidra. Welcome back to you as well. Okay, so let me run this, and we'll see what we got going on here. So I added an energy mechanic. So you could see that the blue bar in the top left is the energy. And yeah, it's a little bit interesting, the implementation, but it's still a server authoritative value, but I'm simulating the consumption and regeneration on the client side so that it's immediately responsive. But yeah, that value is then synced ultimately synced from the server to the client. I think it's every half a second or so. So yeah. That's what I did last night. And then of course yesterday on stream we have this little orb here. This orb is just placeholder. This is how you select your rewards in advance. So I'm thinking that what's going to happen is, at least in this stream, I'm going to try to get the server to create some loot items that can be picked up. And then those will be automatically equipped to the player for now until I have some kind of inventory system. But yeah, that's kind of the plan for today. So as you can see, I've already started on this like art here. Was just trying to figure out how I'm going to get the helmets and armor and whatnot to appear. And it's very basic. I'm kind of borrowing what I did for Gunforge. I'm just going to create a scene for each of the different armor pieces, and then this way I can configure the sprite as I need to so that it overlays on the player correctly. But if I wanted to, I could also add extra stuff like particle systems associated with the item. So that's the reason why I'm not just using a plain sprite for all the armor pieces, is because I may want to have some kind of effects or animations on them at some point. So better just to create them as scenes. But yeah, so we got like an armor head node here, and that's where the head armor will be placed. So that's going to be purely visual though. Those scenes aren't going to actually hold any data. At least I don't think they are. What is going to hold data? The armor that you have on is just going to be stored, I think, as maybe, well, I kind of have to think about how the paper doll is going to work. Probably will be a dictionary where it's like, here's which item is in the head slot and so on and so forth. There's a lot to think about here, but let's just start building the system first, and then we'll see how all that goes. So I think the first thing that I want to do is I want to create a custom resource for these different armor types here. Do I want to make it a resource? Is it worth making it a resource? I think so. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create resources. Let's do this. Let's might change these folder colors here. Okay. So resources, let's create a new folder in here. We'll do armor. And I'm going to use this trick that I used in Gunforged, I think, which is I'm just going to name it. The name of the resource is going to be the ID of the armor piece. So I think that'll be nice. My cats are fighting. It's very distracting. So let's see. Firstly, I need a custom resource. So let's see. Game.data, let's create a new file in here. Armor resource. Hold on a second. Hey. Goodness. Animals. Okay, namespace game.data, and we're going to do global class so that gets registered in the Godot editor. Public partial class armor resource. This extends resource. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some basic stuff. We're going to want export public string display name. Now I do want to have, I'm going to have a sort of like affix system, I think again, but I'm trying to think. Obviously I don't know everything that's going to go into this equipment system, so maybe I should just... Hey! Gosh. Super distracting. That is super distracting. Okay, so export. I think what I'll do is I'll just... let's just do this for now, and I'll worry about the rest of it later. So I'm just going to do something very basic, like public float, energy. I don't know exactly how all these stats are going to go, because I want to do like strength, intelligence, and dexterity, like the typical RPG stats. But I don't exactly know what shape that's going to take yet, so I'm just going to add some basic things here. And do I also want to... do I want to explicitly connect the scene? I kind of liked... In Gunforged, I was using the... I was just reading from the file system based on the ID, so if I were to create... So let me actually just do that. So if I do build... Hello, MyKundev. Welcome back to the stream. So if I go ahead and do a create new resource here, and I do armor resource, and I can do head iron or something like that. So get this head iron helmet. And let's just increase the energy by something obvious like 100 so I can see how that plays out when I eventually add that. So there's the iron helmet, and then the way that I would do it is I've got this head underscore iron, so that ends up being the ID of the thing, and then I can have head iron this scene here, and I can just load that automatically, so I can implicitly connect those two things as like this is the armor scene that goes with the iron. Now the problem though is that I have to worry about sending this information over the network. So there's a little bit more complication. I think what I could probably do is send the ID of the item across the network. So what I'm going to probably do, yeah, I'll probably send the ID of the item across the network as well as any of the configured properties, because these are going to be ultimately randomized. So that needs to be sent over the network as well. But I think that's going to work. I think that's going to work. So let me try this. Okay, hold on. Give me a second. All right. So I think what I did in Gunforged is I did this. I did, like I stored a private string ID. I think I'm gonna basically just borrow what I did for Gunforged here. So ID. So what I'm gonna do in here is if I get the ID, let's see. I'm trying to think. So if is string.is null or empty ID, then we want to grab this return ID. So if string is null or empty ID, that means it hasn't been set yet. It's the first time it's being read. We're going to do the resource path dot base name. Return the path of the file without the extension. Get base name. Path to the file without the extension. The path to the file. I don't remember what this prints. So let's do this. gd.print resource path. Get base name. I can't remember. Do I need to... Well, I can actually test this out. So let's do this. Copy path. I'm just going to put this inside of main menu real quick. gd.load armor resource dot. This is going to be gd.print. So we'll see what that does. Oops, ran the wrong scene. So get these IDs all configured. Yeah, so see how it returns rest, resources, armor, head, iron. So I think what I'll do here is I can just split on that slash. I don't remember how to do string split in string dot. How do I split it? I know how to do it in JavaScript. There we go. Split. We're going to split on the slash. Dot last. So ID is equal to that. So what should happen now is when I run this, I should just see head iron printed. Perfect. So there's my ID, right? So that's just pulling out the file name, basically. Good morning, Christopher. Welcome back. Where's Kitty? Well, he's currently being a menace. Finished my animation player finite state machine, and I added dependency injection. Very nice. Very, very nice. So there's my ID. So now the interesting things, the reason I went through all that trouble here is because, well, for a couple of reasons. One is now I can do something like this. I can say, maybe I'll make this a public property too. Public packed scene get scene maybe, or no. So if I add a packed scene here, what I can do is I can var scene. So we need the Pascal ID. So var Pascal ID is equal to ID dot to Pascal case, like so. And then I can do private const string armor scene path res, what is it, res scenes game object armor. And this will be relatively easy because now I can just do this. I can say return gd.load packed scene armor scene path, and then you know what, I'll do a slash myself Pascal ID.tscn. So now we've implicitly linked those two things together. And I could also just do something like this. I can do private packed scene if packed scene is null. Put those in here. Packed scene is equal to that. Return packed scene. So it will only try to load it once. I mean, Godot caches it, but I guess there's no reason to do these things if we already have a reference to it. So now we can get the ID and we can get the scene corresponding with that item. So that's good. So, but But there's still a piece missing here, which is that if I'm only going to send the ID and the stats over, then I need to be able to reconstruct this armor resource class from that. So the way that I did that in Gunforge is I had like a registry. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So, because that was really nice actually. So if I go to my script data, I'm just going to create a new file. I'm going to do item registry here. I guess I'll split these up. Armor registry.cs, namespace game.data. Okay, and then this registry is pretty straightforward. Public static class armor registry. And in here, static armor registry. I actually don't remember how it's set up, so I'm going to pull up Gunforged here. There's some file system stuff that's happening, so let's do gun registry. So in here, yeah, register gun parts basically. So I've got this file system for files and directory that will just let me iterate over things. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this. And that should be all I need. So register armor. Okay, file system. This is a utility that I wrote for files and directory. So we're going to do private const base armor path is equal to, this should be string, res resources. What did I call it? Armor. Cool. So base armor path. Why is this not working? File system. Oh. I don't think that's part of my utilities actually, so I should go back. Open that back up again. For files and directory. Interesting. We'll copy that over too. I'm gonna put it in game utils. Okay, so this will end up being game utils. .for files and directory. So yeah, basically what I'm doing is just loading up all of those armor resources. Right now we just have the one, but we've got the file name here. And all of this is basically the same, so I'll just change this path here. And then I can load the resource, but this becomes armor resource, like so. We'll load that path up. I'm calling resource.initialize here, but I don't know if that's necessary. So we'll get rid of that for now. And then I have like these static methods here. So private static dictionary string armor resource ID to resource. I guess this can be read only. ID to resource, and then we can get rid of this. So all this is doing is just loading up all those armor resources and storing them in a giant dictionary. And the reason for that is now when I have only a string ID, I can pull out the respective armor resource. I could go directly to the file system for that as well if I wanted to, and just load it up dynamically like I've been doing, but the nice thing about this is that I can pre-populate all of the IDs, right? So the other thing I can do is I can do like private static read only, you know, or private static. Well, yeah, I could create a separate ID array if I just wanted the list of IDs. I could also just return the keys in the ID to resource. So there are benefits to preloading everything. So yeah. So then the last thing that I would need to do is public gun part resource. Not gun part resource. Armor resource from ID. And this one is going to be a little bit tricky. Oh, I think I know why I had that initialize in place. So yeah, I'm actually going to do that. Public void initialize. So there's a trickiness here, which is that when I do from ID, string ID, what I'm going to do is I'm going to return ID to resource, ID dot duplicate as armor resource. The problem is this duplicate causes this not to have a resource path anymore because it's no longer, it's being duplicated. So it no longer is referencing the version of the resource that is saved on disk. And so if these end up being uninitialized for whatever reason, this is going to fail because there's no resource path. So it's safer to call initialize and set up all that stuff. And then I'm also probably actually going to do my own duplicate method here to make sure that those things are carried over. So I do public armor resource duplicate. I might need to, yeah. So I would take duplicate as armor resource, and then what I would do is I would say base.duplicate as armor resource. Then I would say dupe dot ID is equal to ID. Dupe dot packed scene is equal to packed scene. And so in here, I'm basically just going to take these things. So var ID is equal to that. Var Pascal ID is equal to ID.toPascal case. These things can go away. Get private set. Hello, Neozoid. Welcome back. Hello, Hori Portier. Welcome back to you as well. Great to see you. Public packed scene. Okay, and then this in here. Set that to ID. Okay, so yeah, so I'll call initialize here when the thing is loaded by the registry. And then when I call duplicate on this, it's going to make sure to assign that ID and packed scene that have been initialized to the dupe. So here now, I can do resource.initialize, and now we're good. So duplicate. Why is this not working? From ID, oh, public static. So there we go. So now I have a way of just, basically all that setup was so that I can send an ID over the network, and then the clients will know which resource that ID corresponds to. Then they can load that resource and get it all set up. Okay, so that was a little bit of effort to set up, but I think this is going to be nice. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to, what should we do? What should be the next step here? I can get rid of this. That doesn't need to be there anymore. So the next step I should do is when you finish a wave and you press on that orb, I think what I'll do is just assign that head iron to the player when that orb gets pressed. I think that will be a nice sort of initial foray into getting the loot working. But yeah, so let's do this. Does this need to have a UID? I don't know. Maybe not. Okay. So armor registry, cool. I'm going to commit what I have here. Registry setup for armor. Hello, Splat. Welcome back to the stream. How are you doing? Great to have you here again. Alrighty, so the wave, so the reward thing. How do I want to do this? So there's a couple of pieces here. When I click on the wave reward thing, obviously there's going to be lots of stuff to do. So how do I want to do this? So the wave reward interaction area component queue free. So that happens on interacted. So all this itemization stuff needs to be server authoritative. So what I'm going to do is main, let's see. Room reward component show rewards. Okay. All peers ready. So let's go to the room reward component. On reward selection finished. So I think in here, this on reward selection finished. So the room reward component. This is always present here. Wrong one. So this room reward component. So what I need to do is I need to set the reward here. On entity spawner finished. So when I call show rewards, I'm just trying to figure out at which point the server should generate the rewards. Probably inside of the room reward component is where they should generate the rewards. So maybe what I'll do is I think it would make sense to break. Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to rename this to generate rewards. Okay. Now this has to be rewards per player. I think the way that I want to do is instead of what I want to do is I want to make all the loot individual to each player, but then give players the opportunity to trade their loot. I think that's a nice, because I don't want players to fight over the loot that's on the ground. But I also want to give the opportunity for players to say, oh, like this item might be good for you. Do you want it? You know, So I think that's a nice middle ground between each player being able to get their own rewards, but then also being able to trade anything that they don't want. So there needs to be rewards generated for each player. So yeah, how am I going to do that? How am I going to do that? The simple thing to do would be to have a dictionary of peer to rewards here. Let's try that. Private dictionary int. And then we only have armor resources right now, so armor resource peer to rewards. What's that? So when we call generate rewards, let's do peer to rewards.clear. And then in here, what we're going to do is for each var peer ID in multiplayer.get multiplayer manager.get all peer IDs. So we're going to iterate over each peer, and then we're going to say peer to rewards peer ID is equal to, we'll just create a new array, and we're going to do armor registry.from ID head iron. Obviously that's hard coded, so that's not going to be there for long, but we're setting up that rewards list here, and then create room reward. So that create room reward here is going to create that object. On reward selection finished. So the thing that's tricky here is, I mean, I'm always thinking about server authority here. So what happens if, you know, I could send the whole object that's been generated over to this room reward object. But the problem there would be, like if a client were to tamper with that, how would I refresh that? I guess maybe that's not worth recognizing. I think, because like if I, in a server authoritative framework, what I'd need to do is if I had a player inventory, I'd be able to, the server needs to own that inventory, but then it needs to be accurately reflected on the player. So anytime that the player tries to move something in their inventory, for instance, there'd have to be a validation check done to make sure that the item that they're moving is actually at the position in that grid. But also when the item gets equipped, it needs to like basically force the server version, right? Now I could just do it very naively and say, well, it is going to be server authoritative. When you move something onto your paper doll, like you equip a helmet, that is going to just tell the server, hey, I want to put this object on my head. And if it's the wrong object on the client side, then we just forget about it. We don't care. But there still needs to be a way of identifying, like having a shared identifier of objects between the client and the server. So what I might need to do is I might need to generate some kind of like really basic ID for the item and then use that as an identifier between both the client and the server. So that when the client says, hey, I want to equip this object, all that really needs to happen is this client just says, here's the ID of the object I want to equip. And then the server can say, okay, yep, I have that ID in my inventory and you can equip it. So there you go, right? Gunforge for Game of the Year, yeah. I wish. No, that's right. If you were to make a game with a lot of calculations, for example, Economy Simulator, would you still use Godot? Would you go with a different engine library like SFML? I'd probably just stick with, well, I guess it depends. An Economy Simulator. I would try to use Godot. I don't know. I don't know how to make big complex games like that. But I would, my inclination would be to stick with the tools that I know. How concerned are you about bandwidth limitations? I mean, I'm not that concerned. Obviously, I shouldn't be sending a whole lot of data every time, but yeah, why do you ask? So what I could do is this room reward object here. Well, let's see. With hearing about you talk through solutions. Yeah, I mean, if it's easier to just like be a little bit wasteful with bandwidth, then I would consider doing that, but I'm gonna try not to make any like network calls that I don't need to make, you know? So the thing here now is so this is the server side peer-to-peer rewards. But then on the client, I need to be able to tell the client which reward specifically is available. So let me think. So I think what I'll do is maybe I'm going to rename this to server to peer. Or let's do this, server peer rewards. So this is like the source of truth. But then I'm going to do something, maybe this is a little bit sloppy, but I'm still figuring things out. So private read only, armor resource, array. This peer rewards. And if I do this, private void, so this here, set this peer rewards. I don't know if that's the right way, good language, but as long as it makes sense to me, I suppose. So what I would do here is RPC ID, peer ID, method name, dot set this peer rewards. And then I need args here. I assume I probably need to, so this is where I need to basically transform this into a network transferable resource kind of deal. So I'm going to, let's see. Should I use, maybe I'll just use a Godot dictionary for this for simplicity's sake. So I'm going to do like an armor resource network transfer. I don't know if that's a good name for it, but we're going to roll with it. Namespace game.data. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say public partial actually, can I do that? Yeah. So public, actually I don't need to do that. I'm gonna just make this a pure class. Armor resource network transfer. Okay, and I might even make this static. Let's see. Yeah, do I want to make it static? Oh, any key, welcome back. Yeah, I think I'll make it static because then what I can do is I can do public dictionary. So I'm going to use Godot.collections dictionary because I think that's just probably going to be easier to send over the RPC. So public dictionary, we're going to do from armor resource. And I can genericize this later if I want to, but I'm going to stick with the armor resource for now. So from armor resource, and I can say var dict is equal to new Godot.collections.dictionary. Okay, and then what I probably need to do is just, I don't need to take the display name, but I do need to take the energy and health. So any property that could possibly be randomized. So I'm going to say dict, just kind of sketching things out. This may end up, I may end up using reflection for some of this eventually. So we're going to say dict key energy is equal to armor resource dot energy. Dict key health is equal to armor resource dot. We'll do key ID before I forget. Key ID. Key health is equal to health. Dict key ID is equal to armor resource dot ID. And then I'll probably need like a server ID or something to identify, or like an instance ID, something like that. Anyway, so from armor resource, I can return dictionary, return dict here. Okay, and then public static armor resource to armor resource dictionary collection initialization can be simplified. Oh, very nice. And then in here, what I'll do is I will, so I'm going to say var resource is equal to armor registry dot from ID. So this is where that ID is coming in. So we're going to do from ID key ID, and we will just stringify that. And then resource dot energy is equal to float dict key energy. Oh, it's private. Would it be easier? I wonder if it would just be easier to put this inside of the resource itself. Might get a little clunky, but why not? So network from armor resource, network to armor resource. I don't know, something like that. Resource.health is equal to key health. Return resource. Okay. I don't know if that's going to work, but we'll see. What VS Code theme are you using? I think it's Dracula. Welcome, below average cat, by the way. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Dracula. And I'm going to move these static methods up here. Okay, let's see how that works. So RPC peer ID method names set peer rewards. This is going to take a dictionary network. I don't know. I'm going to find a better way of genericizing this in the future. But so we're sending to the specific peer that we generated rewards for. We're going to be, oh, this is going to have to be an array of dictionaries. I guess so. So what I'll do is I'll say var Godot array is equal to Godot array dot, how do I oh, just add. Okay, so Godot array dot add. Can I do add range? Yes. Add range server peer rewards peer ID dot, oops, and I'm gonna need to do this dot select. Oh, can I not do that? Can I not use link here? Server peer rewards peer ID dot, oh, maybe it's, let's see. I can't do select? Wait a minute. Something going wrong here. Oh, there's a clash. Okay, that's fine. Get rid of that. Godot.collections.array. X armor resource dot network from armor resource. So that's going to convert that to an array, or the dictionary. And then I can pass in the Godot array here. Okay. Godot.collections.array. Collections.dictionary. This peer rewards is equal to rewards.select x armor resource dot from network from armor network to armor resource x dot to array. This is read only for some reason. Get rid of that. Okay, fine. I'll use this fancy. Okay, so basically all that's happening here is that when the server on its end calls generate rewards, it's going to iterate over all the peers. This is the place where all of the rewards are going to be chosen and randomized for each peer in the loop here. And then it's going to send an RPC to that specific peer saying, here are your specific rewards here. So it's constructing a Godot array and a Godot dictionary just because I'm assuming that's going to work better with RPC calls. So it creates a new Godot array. It adds all of the armor resource dictionaries. So this is where we're converting that to a Godot dictionary. And then it's RPCing that all over to this .set peer, or to set peer rewards here. And then that's going to be set client side, but this object, this array is going to be converted back to armor resource objects. So, assuming that all works, and that should happen, this set peer reward should happen before this create room reward because of the RPC ordering here. So, once the room reward is in place, I'm going to have the peer rewards here. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to worry about editing anything in here. What I'm going to do is probably just on reward selection finished here. I'm going to, well, now I got to figure out how to actually like equip the item in a server authoritative way. So And I still want that to be client responsive as well. So that's the next thing I need to figure out. Monokai Luminous is the best theme. I was using Monokai for a while. Hello, Kit Astro. What is the about? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to say for each var. Actually, you know what I can do to test this? This feels complex. Well, it's multiplayer. I don't know how to make it any less complex. When I joined the oh, I see. Yeah. Here's what I want to do actually real quick is var item. Let's just create this item here. But then I'm going to randomize this, which I might need to actually remove the private set here. Okay, I'm going to try randomizing this. So I'm going to say item.energy is equal to mathutil.rng.randef range. And I'm going to do 50 to 250. So the server is going to be randomizing that energy, and then I can say item there. And this from ID is duplicating that, so that's good. Okay. Oh, thank you so much for the €1.49, Mycoon Dev. Very much appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. That's very generous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a log in here. gd.print s. Print, let's do this. For peer ID, energy, item.energy. So I'm going to print this on the server side so I can see which peer was given which energy. But then on the client side, when set this peer rewards here, I'm going to do gd.print this peer multiplayer manager dot instance dot multiplayer ID energy this peer rewards 0 dot energy. So I'm just going to make sure that the object is getting over to the client with the correct data. Okay, and then the final thing that I'm going to do is in this entity spawner component, just to make things a little bit easier on myself, I am going to set enemies to spawn to 1, so I only have to kill one thing. And we'll see what happens. There's going to be some trickiness here too, because I'm going to want client responsiveness when I eventually add item equipping. So as a client, I should be able to basically, oh, that's going to be tricky. I wonder if I should just tolerate lag within like an inventory screen or something. So I guess it's going to be tricky. So imagine I want to make the inventory as responsive as possible for the client, and the client's on a 200 millisecond lag or something. And I move around a bunch of items in the inventory real quick. I'm going to need to validate on the server that all of those moves were valid, but then if any moves were invalid, reset the client state to be synchronized with the server, but I guess I won't worry about that just yet. One thing at a time. I should reduce the health of these guys too. Oh, did that not work? Why didn't that work? Oh, if enemies killed... Oh, I see. Didn't work because those numbers aren't the same. All right, let's fix that for now anyway. Constant. And to make my life even easier, let's go to my test enemy here. We're going to turn down the health. Lag better than item duplication. Yeah, I mean, the lag is all going to be I mean, the client won't be able to duplicate anything because the server is going to own everything. Okay, so let's take a look at our logs. So for peer ID 1, energy 234, this peer, energy 206, for peer, yeah, so anywhere where it says this peer, oh wait. So for peer ID is in the server item generation loop. So for peer ID 1, energy 234, for peer ID, whatever this number is, 206. And then this peer logs are the ones that are received by the client. That's weird. Why is that showing up first? That's so weird. In any case, energy 206 49974. And then, yeah. So those numbers are correct. So those numbers match. So the client is receiving the number that's required. That was generated by the server. So that's great. How do you make Godot open 2 clients at once? Yeah, you go to debug, customize run instances, enable multiple instances, and then you can turn up your amount of instances there. It's not a new thing. There are some gameplay or game window related things, but you've been able to run multiple instances for a while now in Godot. I feel like I looked away for 2 minutes and there's already RC2 for Godot 4.4. Yeah, I'm on that right now, actually. It feels pretty nice. It feels pretty nice. So the next step now is to get... Oh man, there's a lot of complexity here. So the next thing to do is to... Shoot. The next thing to do is to figure out how to get a player to be able to equip an item and then have that update their stats. And I don't exactly know. What I'm probably going to do is create like a player stats manager or something that holds all of the player stats. Is that a good idea? So I have a single place where all the stats can be updated whenever things change. This is going to be tricky. This is going to be very tricky, but those things are all working. So the rewards are going to be set before the room reward thing is shown. So on reward selection finished, I think that's where I'm going to want to equip the item just for testing purposes. But now, so yeah, the next thing to do is to figure out, okay, how do I actually equip the item on the player and update all their stats, make that server authoritative, and synchronize that to the client. That's going to be the thing to do. Yeah, lots of interesting things. Oh, I'm laggy. I'm currently developing in beta 4, so I need to update. Yeah, it feels good. How does UID files feel to you? It feels fine to me. I think it's fine. I mean, I think it fixes a lot of the problems that existed without UID files, but I guess it is kind of annoying to have to move the UID files around if you want to move something outside of the Godot editor. I mean, that said, I never did any like file system operations really outside of the Godot editor because it could break things, and that seems to still be the case with respect to UID files. So anytime I need to rename or move something around, I always just do it through the Godot editor. Anyway, so I think it's probably fine. I'm gonna need to Godot to properly clean up UID files, yeah. How's Gunforge launch been? Any tips? I'm hoping to release my Godot game in July. Well, first of all, welcome Big Quail Games, or welcome back. You've been here before. So the Gunforge launch was great. Yeah, I think it was, I would call it a success for my first commercial launch. It's not going to make me rich, but it does give me quite a bit of leeway in terms of being able to continue building games here. So it went well. I think, any tips? Yeah, I wish I had some valuable tips, but yeah, I mean, make a good trailer. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the main tip, the reason I think why Gunforge did reasonably well is because I already have a YouTube following, so I was able to basically just tell everyone that follows me, like, hey, you can purchase Gunforge now. And so a lot of the purchases and support came from that channel. So if you don't have that, I don't really know. I mean, I think, so the one piece of advice, I guess, that was very helpful is you just gotta, like a week or two before you launch your game, just start collecting a bunch of emails of content creators that on YouTube and Twitch and elsewhere, and start sending them emails. And, you know, I wrote sort of like personalized emails for everyone that I reached out to, and I sent a key along with the email. And I had a number of YouTubers play it, got it. I think probably, if you were to sum up all the views across all the content creators that played Gunforge, probably well over 100,000 views. So that helped quite a bit, and that drove up wish lists. And I think my strategy worked pretty well. So my strategy was start to get a lot of wish list momentum within the 2 weeks leading up to release. And what that did is that actually ended up, Gunforge was in the popular upcoming on Steam, that popular upcoming section on Steam, because of the wish list velocity being picked up as a result of the content creators showing off the game, I think. So building up that momentum prior to your release, I think, helps quite a bit as well. And then also, it seems to be a good idea to set up a stream for your Steam page on launch day. I actually still have a stream on the Steam page looping, which just shows me playing the game. So definitely look into doing that. I think, you know, I think I got the stats. There were like 25,000 unique viewers or something to the stream, which I know, you know, it shows up when you load the page, but still, like, people being able to see your game actually being played outside of like a trailer or something was super helpful. It's like a little like let's play video right on the Steam page, so people can make a better choice about how to purchase the game. So yeah, I don't know. That's a long-winded way of saying I don't really have any good advice, but those are kind of the things that I did that seemed to help. So yeah. How are the UIDs not showing in VS Code? I added those UID files. I filtered those out in the settings so they don't show up in the Explorer here. So yeah, you can do that in the VS Code settings. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick 2-minute break, and then when I come back, we're gonna figure out how to get this helmet equipped on players and also have that update the stats. And we gotta figure out how to make those stats server authoritative. Honestly, I don't know if I need to be super like, I'm not going to worry about like what happens if the client modifies the stat data after they've received the item. I'm just going to let the client break their game if they want to break their game. The most important thing is that the server says, here's the item and here are all the stats. And then the client, you know, it doesn't need to remain in sync constantly with the server because those stats won't be changing unless you change your equipment, right? So I think what I'll do is I'll just say, here's the item, client. If you change the numbers on the item, that's going to have no effect on the gameplay. It's just going to ruin your stat overview, right? So don't don't use Cheat Engine to change the stats because it's not going to do anything. So we'll send the stats over to the client. We'll just assume that the client is not going to tamper with those from a visual perspective. Any tampering the client does do will have no effect because the server is ultimately going to be the owner of the stats. And then, and yeah, as long as the logic is the same, I can basically just show the client stats, do the same calculations on the client for all the stats as the server, and then I think it'll be fine. So yeah, I think that's what we'll do, but I need a 2-minute break, and when I come back, we'll start on that. In the meanwhile, you can purchase Gunforge. That's available right now on Steam. It's the first link in the description. You can also purchase one of my Udemy courses if you're interested in learning how to build a complete game in the Godot engine. So definitely check those out if you're interested. And I'm going to go ahead and get a new drink and all that, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. That all sounds like great advice. Thanks. Yes, you're welcome. And congrats on getting into the popular upcoming. That's a pretty good benchmark for a good launch, so you should be proud. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you. Sir successfully realized he was overthinking server-side validation. Well, I'm not sure I'm overthinking it. I think it's important to recover from any cases of drift, but I don't think that drift is going to happen without intentional tampering in the case of like item stats. But I have to be careful not to box myself in too, because maybe I do want to have an item at some point whose stats shift over time, and then I need to resynchronize that to the client in some way. So I don't think it's as simple, but I'm going to start with the simple approach and then handle the more complex stuff later. Hello, Paul. Welcome back. Need a large drink if you want to stream for hours. Well, the secret is that I'm not only getting a new drink when I go on my break. So, okay. Let's see. So I'm going to commit what I have here. Hydrate and dehydrate. Yes, that's a nice way of putting it. So let's see. I'm going to commit what I have here. So basic loot generation. Actually, here's what I'm going to do before I go any further. Oh, I did remove that. Okay. Basic loot generation and sync. Guys are cracking me up. Can we know how much dollars have Gunforged made? I may make a video on that. I typically don't like sharing like exact numbers. So, but people are curious, and I bet you that video would do numbers like how much money did I make on my indie game? So maybe I should do that. Anyway, I'll think about it. I have so many projects I need to do. It's unreal. It's unreal. Rough estimate. Between $5,000 and $10,000. There's your rough estimate. It's a very catchy title, yeah. There's a lot of videos that have that title that have already done like really well. I don't know. There's just certain types of YouTube videos that are just like, if you want to get tens of thousands of views, just like make that video. Honestly, that's what I did with like the tools I use for game development video. I was like, I'm gonna do this trendy thing too, and I'm gonna get tens of thousands of views. And I made the video, and guess what? I got tens of thousands of views. So it's like part of YouTube is like really easy because you just have to look at what videos get the most views and just make like a carbon copy. It's like, you know, I'll do that on occasion. I don't want to make my entire channel that, but sometimes sometimes I just want to go for tens of thousands of views, and that's an easy way to do it. It's kind of funny how the internet works like that. Anyway, so so on reward selection finished. So this is the part where server validation maybe is important, is like, I want to equip an item, but I want to make sure that the server allows that to happen. You're welcome, Neozoid. You are welcome. So yeah, this is the part where server validation is important. Like, if I equip an item onto my player, you know what I'm going to do? Let me start thinking about... The other thing that's kind of interesting to think about is that, so I need to separate the data from the visuals, right? I have to have the data of everything the player has equipped, and then the visuals of everything that the player has equipped. And so I'm going to separate those things. I was thinking about creating like a paper doll sort of, or like a stat manager on the player. But the interesting thing, and this is the problem with designing player characters, is that what happens if I'm probably going to want to delete a player, right? Like if the player dies, I'm either going to have to delete the player or, you know, pull some tricks to like hide the player and like shove them off the screen and everything like that. I much prefer deleting the player and recreating the player because it just makes all the logic so much simpler than trying to pull tricks to like hide the player so that they stick around, but you know. So the tricky thing there is that I can't store any permanent information on the player. So I can't store like, here's what the player currently has equipped on the player, because as soon as I free the player, all that information goes away. So what I need to do is I probably need... This is where I probably need to start introducing another sort of level here. So this main, I'm going to actually rename this. This main is going to be basically my room. So this is what a room looks like. This is going to be all the nodes that are required to run a room and deliver the rewards. But there needs to be like a node above this that's kind of like the run manager, right? Like, this is the run. We're going to swap in and out the rooms. We're going to move the players around. We're going to handle player death and all that stuff. But the run is like the long-lived context of like, here's what the players have equipped, you know, here's what level they're on, here's all that stuff. So I think that's going to be the next appropriate thing to do, is to actually introduce that structure now of like, this is a run, and then here's, you know, the individual room that's going to be freed and added. And the benefit of this too is that when the players go into a new room, as long as I have the player data permanently stored, I can recreate the players whenever the new room starts, right? And recreate the players based on that data. And that's going to be actually really good too for the future, because I could see that morphing into a system of like player disconnect and reconnect, right? So when a player disconnects, I can hold on to all their data. So when they reconnect, I can recreate the player with all that data as well. So there's going to be like the ability to store that permanent data and recreate and delete players on demand is actually going to be really useful for a number of reasons. So the question is, do I want to start doing all of that right now? I think I need to, because I think I don't want to store any permanent data on the player, that's for sure. And the only way to not store permanent data on the player is to have a different place to store data for the player. So all of that said, let's go ahead and start working on this. So this main, I'm going to rename this to room. And rename this to room as well. And then I have to go into my this here and rename this to room. And then we'll rename this to room here. And I'm going to organize this a little bit better too. This is just at the root level. So game object, effect, component, scenes. Let's do what do I want to do here? I guess I'll just create a new scene. We're going to call this run manager. Okay. Scripts. All right, that'll work. And so now what I'll do, create a new node, room parent. It's going to be a little bit tricky, but one thing at a time. We'll grab a reference to that room parent, and I'm just going to instantiate that basic room for now. So there's our room. And the reason I have a room parent here is so that I'm going to have other nodes alongside this run manager here. So being able to just identify where a room should be placed is the only reason that node is there. So let me change this now. General run. Oops. Main menu. Okay, let me just make sure I didn't break anything. Currently bedridden, your streams are a godsend. Oh no, are you sick with that flu that's going around? Sorry, you're not feeling well? Currently trending thing seems to be making my dream game. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so the game still works. Remote. So now we can see that the run manager is the node that has everything. Okay, so now here's what I'm gonna do. What am I gonna do?
Liftoff of mission 41B, the first flight of the orbital Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower. Discovery's core computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
Just trying to think of how I want to approach this. So if I do something like player data manager, actually I'm going to create a new folder. new folder manager. Okay. It's going to be a lot trickier than I thought it was going to be. So we've got this player data manager. All right, so the minimal goal here is to get the helmet equipping. So ideally what I'd be able to do is in this rewards, or in this main here, or room rather. No. Where was I at? Oh, entity. Let's look at the entity spawner component here. Hold up a second. On entity spawner finished, on reward chosen. Where did I have those prints? Am I already... Oh, goodness. Oh, the room reward component, right. So in here, I wish it was the flu. I tore ligaments on my foot while performing a carnival play. Ooh, that's not good. You nearly have steam coming out of your ears from thinking so hard here, yeah? I know. I think what I need to do, so on reward selection finished, basically what needs to happen is I need to... So if I want to have client responsiveness, what I basically need to do is I need to immediately want to equip the item onto myself. And then tell the server that that's what I wanted to do. Have the server do the thing on its end, that same thing, but then probably resynchronize the state back to the client just to refresh any discrepancies that may have happened. I think that's probably what I want to do. And this is going to be a little bit tricksy. It's going to be a little bit tricksy, I think. But it should be okay. So, okay. There's a couple of sloppy ways to do this, but I think I'll just do the sloppy way for now. So on reward selection finished. I'm kind of thinking that I want to do something like this. Public void request equip item. I'm using armor. I'm probably going to want to genericize this though, so that I can handle any sort of like item that I want to equip. Request equip item, armor resource. Okay. var owned player is equal to this dot. Let's see. I might want to do this. Let's see. So the tricky thing is that this is going to be both a server and a client thing, I think. Maybe that's a bad idea, but the player data manager on the server side is going to hold the data for all the players, but then this is also going to exist on the client side for handling any like immediate updates. So let's see, do I want to do request equip item? Yeah, so We want it to be a pure data representation, I think. Okay, I'm just gonna start real simple here. Private armor resource equipped helmet. We're gonna start very basic here. Not gonna be multiplayer enabled at all for now. Request equip item. Okay, we're gonna say equipped helmet is equal to resource.duplicate. And we're duplicating this here again just to break any references. I think it's just good practice. Hello, Vishal. Welcome back. Does indeed sound miserable. It does indeed. Okay, so equip helmet equals resource.duplicate. So again, I'm just assuming that this is a helmet because that's the only type of armor I have. We're going to build up with the very simple case and then work our way towards that. So that's going to be a request equip item. We're going to set the equipped helmet. Okay, and then we actually need to be able to target that. So let's do signal public delegate void item equipped event handler. Okay, this dot add to group. And then the other thing I'm going to want to do is probably public void refresh equipment, emit signal name, item equipped helmet. Why am I doing that? For this reason. When a player gets added to the tree, it can call refresh equipment and then just basically force all those signals to be emitted. We'll see if that works, but I don't know. In any case, what I'm going to want to do is in my node extensions. Do I have extensions? Yeah. Network extensions. Create new file, game extensions. Get player data manager. Return this, or no, return get tree. Oh, n.get tree. Get first node in group. Player data manager. The non-generic, that's fine. Okay, so player. So this is how I'm thinking about using it. So this dot, I should probably break this out into a separate thing as well, but let's just do this for now. This dot get player data manager dot connect player data manager dot signal name dot item equipped callable dot from armor resource on item equipped node private node 2D armor head. Okay, let's scroll down here. Private void on item equipped armor resource armor head dot remove end queue free children armor head dot add child, armor resource dot. I have the packed scene here. Let's do this. Public node 2D to node. Return packed scene dot instantiate, or instance are free node 2D. Armor resource dot to node. Okay. And then what I can do, just preemptively, this dot get player manager dot refresh equipment. Obviously none of this is networked yet, but we're just going to see if I can get this to work, and then we'll work on reflecting it across all the clients. So in the room reward component here, what I want to do now is I have this dot peer rewards, right? So var item is equal to this peer rewards dot first or default. If item is not equal to null, then we're going to do this dot get player data manager dot request equip item. So this is going to set the equipped helmet to that. Boom. But now what we need to do is we can make that RPC enabled. But first, I'm going to make sure that that whole flow on the client side just works. Watching video is going to work on my laptop later. Rewindable action seems to be relevant for what you're doing. Seems like it's in a draft PR state. Rewindable action. Rewindable action. Is that on the NetFox? The NetFox GitHub. Rewindable action. Here we go. Adds a node that synchronizes events that may or may not happen during specific ticks together with mutations that can be used to implement weapon firing fully. Client records input, simulates firing input, arrives at servers. Okay. I don't know why I'm looking at the code like I'm going to pretend like I know what's going on. But you think that this could be used for like equipping something? I mean, honestly, like anything that NetFox can add to make client responsiveness like super easy to do with server authority. Because what I'm going to do is I'm basically just going to do it myself, right? So I'm going to update the visuals immediately on the client. Tell the server, hey, I want to equip this item. The server is going to have to, validate all that stuff, which, now I'm thinking, how am I going to do that? But anyway, the server will validate that, equip it onto the player on its side, and then probably send a request or an RPC back to the player saying, like, here's your updated state. And if the state matches, then it's not going to, if the state matches, then there's not going to be any difference. Now, the problem is that for high latency scenarios, like that could be a problem, right? Because if I equip two things very quickly, then the server is going to reset that state. So I wish GD script had extension classes like C#. Yeah, that would be nice. Is there a reason why not to use the C# way of subbing to events? I don't think it's a good idea to use the so C# events and Godot signals are like parallel observer patterns, and I just don't think it's a good idea to use both of them for me personally, because like when you're using two parallel solutions that essentially do the same thing but have different implementations, then you may end up in weird situations where like an event is behaving slightly differently than a signal would, and so you're getting some unpredictable behavior or vice versa, right? So I think it's just better to just pick a solution and use that one so you get the consistency of like, this implementation is the only implementation. It's going to behave predictably across the code base, right? And so I just stick with Godot signals for that reason. Now you can use them in parallel. I've never thought that like, if you've got two things that do the exact same thing functionally, you should just stick with one to minimize the opportunity for, like I said, unpredictability, because you're using one system here and then another system here. Not sure how compatible with this. Yeah. Optimistic update. Yeah. Our eventual goal is to allow networking to be as drag and drop as possible. Unfortunately, we have limited time and too many features we want to add. Yeah. C# ways an anti-pattern. I wouldn't say that, but yeah, I just think like, yeah, me personally, just stick with one solution and use that. Is the built-in multiplayer enough creating a side-scrolling RTS game, or do I need third-party libraries like NetFox? I do not know how to answer that question, honestly. So a side-scrolling RTS. Side-scrolling RTS. What do you mean by... I guess I don't know what a side-scrolling RTS is. Is that like... Oh, maybe I do know what you mean. Like that caveman game. You know what I'm talking about? What was it called? The old Flash game where you start as caveman and then you go, you start as caveman and then you, go all the way up to like the tech world. Basically a single lane respawn units. Yeah, gotcha. I would say since that one's mostly just about spawning units, right? And then letting them take over. Your implementation has 3 lanes. I mean, it depends. Like, if there's not a whole lot of real-time control, if it's just a matter of pressing a button and that spawns your enemies, then I think you could probably get away with just doing the built-in multiplayer. Because even in a high-latency situation, the worst-case scenario is that you are seeing, 200 milliseconds behind. But if it's not like a real-time game that requires client responsiveness, then I don't think it'd be super necessary. In other words, I think it'd be acceptable if like you click a button and like 200 milliseconds later, that's when the thing spawns. But other people are welcome to chime in as well. Yeah, it depends on whether it requires real-time input or if you're just going to be spawning the entities and then you can just synchronize their positions across the screen. There's a bit of player input. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not good enough at multiplayer to know what the right approach is. I mean, my hunch is that if I was making that game, I'd probably just go with the built-in naive approach first. But maybe that wouldn't be a good idea. Anyway, let's see what happens. I should be able to get a helmet appearing. I'm going to play on the client just to make sure. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, imagine that. Oh. It didn't work because I need to instantiate the player data manager here. Okay. That's null for some reason. Armor head. Armor head. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. We need to support adding a null item there. Okay, still broken. Okay, am I doing something wrong? The answer is yes. First or default, item not equal to null, request equip item, equipped helmet equals, oh wait. Forgot to send that signal. Oops, I clicked host twice. Oops. The built-in Godot tooling can work just fine. Yeah, I think the NetFox docs even say that about the RTS. Sweet. Okay, but it equipped helmets on both players, which is fine. So request equip item. Yeah, so I think the easy way to fix that is to, in here, multiplayer manager dot instance dot multiplayer ID is equal to controlled by peer ID. Then we can connect to those signals in there. There's my helmet. Hee hee. Okay, we need to get this synchronizing, obviously, but that flow is at least working. So actually, what am I doing? What am I doing actually? I think it would actually be a good idea to connect to this on all clients and then do the filtering. Send along a peer ID for the on item equipped in here. And then do this. If multiplayer manager, if controlled by peer ID is not equal to peer ID, return. Yeah. I think that's probably a little bit better. But now I need to change this in here. So request equip item. Okay, maybe I'll not, let's see. I am going to need to filter out this peer ID, I think, at some point, but maybe I'm not going to worry about that just yet. Well, what? Well, hold on a second. Hold on just a second. The tricky part is going to be server validation. I basically need a way of Well, let's not worry about doing the validation in a super strict way just yet. I think I should just worry about getting that loop working. So, I mean, I'm not going to get anywhere by thinking about it, so let's just go ahead and start writing something. Any peer, call local, true, reliable. So private void. Maybe I'll rename this to, well, equip item Godot.collections.dictionary item dict. So in here, RPC ID. I don't really know if this is the right way to be doing things, but multiplayer manager, server peer ID, string name method, method name dot equip item. And then we're going to do armor resource dot network from armor resource to equipped helmet. So this is why I think I'm going to need to maintain a source of truth of like all the items that are available to equip. And then the server needs to be able to make sure that that item exists, and probably we'll do it by ID instead. But anyway, because if I just send this from the client as is and the server just accepts it, that's the potential where cheating could happen, right? So to do need to associate items by ID. Whereas if you just use an ID, like a randomly generated ID, then that's a good way of identifying the specific item that exists on the server that is requested to be equipped. And if you change the ID, worst case scenario is that that item just doesn't exist and the server does nothing. Or if you, for some reason, change it to an ID of an already existing item, I can still do checks. Right? I can say, well, does this item already exist on a different player? Or is this item not of the same type of the slot that you're trying to equip it in? So I think that's going to be the way to do it. Generate like a small UUID or like a nano ID or something, and then use that for identification purposes. But for now, I'm just going to send the entirety of the client's version of the helmet across to the server because I just want to get this loop working and get it replicating across to everyone else. So server ID equip item. Okay, so there's my item dict. So var item is equal to armor. Whoops. Var item armor resource dot network to armor resource item dict. So there we go. And so now this is where I'm going to need probably a I'm going to create a new paper doll data. Public class paper doll data. Public armor resource equipped. Let's do helmet. Just kind of like this is all scaffolding, sketching things out, just trying to get everything all good. Because what I'm going to want to do is this private, let's do private dictionary int. This is going to have to change too. I'm going to need a unique player identifier, I think, which I think I can get from Steam, but because if a player disconnects and then reconnects, the peer ID is going to change, which means I'm not going to be able to restore their data. So I need a better player identifier than peer ID for reconnection purposes. So that's something that I'll do later, but we'll just use the peer ID for now. And then we'll do paper doll data, peer to paper doll data. Okay. Our sender peer is equal to multiplayer.get remote peer remote sender ID. var paper doll is equal to paper doll data dot try get. Well, let's do try get value. Out var paper doll data. If paper doll data is not equal to null, or is equal to null, paper doll data equals new. Can I simplify that? Oops. Okay, so that's very basic. Are you planning on having the game be playable off Steam? Yeah. Yeah, that's the plan. Or off Steam. I misread that. I think probably not. Probably just through Steam. Except for testing purposes, obviously. So I guess I will need to have it playable off Steam for probably playtesting purposes. So yeah, I guess so. I guess the answer is yeah. Is there a way to get like a player MAC address or something? Like a unique identifier? Testing can be done on Steam. Yeah, but I want to do like eventually like maybe some community play tests, and I don't know how getting play testing. I'd have to set up like probably the actual Steam app and everything to get that working. We use it all the time for playtests and such. Okay. I'll have to look into that. I will have to look into that. So now I'm requesting this equip item. So this is the optimistic. So you know what I'm going to do instead? I'm going to rename this so that it's more explicit. Optimistically equip item. But then it sends a request to the server that it wants to equip this specific item. The server is going to update that paper doll data for the player. My cat is sneezing. I probably want to initialize all this. I probably don't want to be doing this every time, so. Oh. Refresh equipment. I'm not going to worry about that just yet. So now I need to synchronize this paper doll data here. I'm just going to do something very, very basic here. Private void, update, paper doll. Obviously, this is going to need to be more targeted at some point in the future, but so this is going to be int for peer ID. So update paper doll for peer ID. Again, we're going to do all this stuff. Oops. For peer ID. So this is gonna be what's caused Frink. This is going to be what is called on all of the clients from the server. So in here, RPC method name dot update paper doll, and then for peer ID is going to be the sender peer, and the item dictionary is going to be the, I'm just going to reconvert it again, armor resource dot network from armor resource item. Okay, and now all the clients, this is where now I think I need to do this item equipped, and I need to send in the peer ID here. So int for peer ID, emit signal name dot item equipped. And I'll make this a lot more complex depending on what type of thing is being updated. But for now, we'll do all this. All right, so yeah, so this item equipped event handler now in the player, this int on item equipped if, okay, so that's still there. Okay, perfect. So wait, now I need to player data manager in here, multiplayer manager.instance.multiplayer ID. So we're going to optimistically update it for ourselves. Send a request to the server that I want to equip this item. Again, we'll be using an ID here instead of the exact object because it could have been tampered with. We'll send that over to the server. Here in this equip item, the server is going to say, okay, I'm going to convert that back to an armor resource. The sender peer is the one who requested that this item be equipped. I'm going to update the server side peer to paper doll data. Paperdoll data.helmet equals item, and then I can call update paperdoll on all the clients with that update and keep all that synchronized. So I don't think I want to be sending the entirety of the paperdoll object over to each client, but it might not actually end up being that much data, so I might do that just to like give an opportunity for all the things to be refreshed at the same time, but I don't know if that's super necessary. Like I said, if clients want to tamper with what's on their side, it's like you're only going to be hurting yourself because the server's the source of truth here. But let's see. Let's see if this works. I am betting it's not going to work, but we'll see. Okay, time to equip. Bam! Oh, it worked. Look at that. Nice. Okay, so I equipped that on the client and it reflected on the other. So now let's do it the other way. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we've got, as far as I can tell, are there any errors? So we've got basic equipment synchronization happening now. What's not happening though is the player stats are not actually being updated, so that needs to happen as well. But we've got the visuals updating. Thank you, Dusty. So the next big thing, yeah, is to synchronize the stat changes, which is going to be a very similar approach. So if the item is supposed to add 100 energy to your bar, we're going to optimistically update that on the client side, and then also we'll update it on the server side. The server will hold all the stats for all the players, and then we'll synchronize those stats over to the player after an item gets equipped. Just to make sure that the player has, you know, all the right numbers and whatnot. Cool. So I can't believe that's working. That's pretty cool. And again, that equipment thing, it's purely visual. So only the visuals are being added to this armor head here. all the stats and the paper dolls are going to be stored in this player data manager, and this may even be fragmented even further. So I might change this. Well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, paper doll data. Ideally, what I'd be able to do is create like a giant stat object from a paper doll. So probably recreate the stat object. So there's things like health, armor, intelligence, strength, whatever. Create that from a paper doll, which is just a list of equipment essentially. And then we'll see. But yeah, the question is synchronizing all that data. I don't know if I want to send that whole stat object over or just the pieces that are updated. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, that's for sure. All right, so let's see. Make sure I didn't do anything too awful here. Okay, so basic equipment synchronization. All right, well, that's going to be it for the stream today. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Very much appreciate this. It's nice chatting with you all, as always. So, yeah, again, you could purchase Gunforged. It's the first link in the description below. It's on sale now. I mean, it's for sale. It's not on sale. Not yet, anyway. And I also have Udemy courses available for purchase. So if you want to pick up one of those, if you want to learn how to build a complete game in the Godot engine, that's a great way to support me and a great way to kickstart your Godot learning journey. And what else? Yeah, if you want to support my work in a free fashion, you can like this video, subscribe to the channel, watch my other videos, all that good stuff. And the other thing is, what's the other thing? Oh, I want to thank the VOD watchers and the lurkers out there. I know that you're out there. I know that you watch my videos. So thank you as well. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next stream. I may be streaming tomorrow at some point. I don't know. I don't usually stream on the weekends at any particular point. So hit the notification bell to be notified if I go online over the weekend. Otherwise, I'll be back here Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern. All right. Have a great weekend. Have a great day, everyone. And I will see you all in the next one. All right. Bye-bye.